Good afternoon. Welcome to another presentation in Metropolitan Community College's Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month recognition. Your microphones are silenced. Send your questions to moderator Barbara Velasquez. I will be presenting your questions to our discussion leader. I'm really excited that once again, we have someone who is going to lead the discussion who is very close to this project. And I'm going to introduce him and then he will introduce the documentary and we're going to get started right away. Kenneth Ng is a director, editor, and executive producer. After graduating from Boston Latin School, he left for New York in 1994 to study film at the School of Visual Arts. His thesis, Scratching Windows, a short documentary film about graffiti writers, was broadcast as part of the doc series Real New York on WNET New York PBS. In 2001, Ken directed and edited Take Me to the River, a feature-length documentary about the Maha Kumbh Mela Festival in Allahabad, India. Kokoyaku High School Baseball, his film about the famous Koshin tournament in Japan, was nationally broadcast on PBS as part of POV and continues to play in Japan on NHK-TV. In 2007, Ken was awarded the Guggenheim Fellowship to launch My Life in China, the documentary that we'll see today. Recently, he edited Tested for director Curtis Chin and is currently collaborating with him on a film, Our Chinatown, about the challenges Chinatowns face across America. Ken is also involved in The Great China Baseball Hunt, a film about the rise of baseball in China. So please welcome Kenneth Ng, the producer and editor of My Life in China, who is going to introduce today's film.
Thank you so much, Barbara. It's just a pleasure to be here and share my story. Thank you, Metropolitan Community College, for this opportunity for hosting this during the month of May. It means a lot to me. And just I wanted to give you a brief introduction to the film. Like growing up in Boston, my father would tell me the story of walking for 7 days and 6 nights before swimming for 4 hours to escape China. And the story kind of fell on my deaf ears as I was more preoccupied with being American and acculturating and, avoid being bullied at school. So I think something was sacrificed as I grew up kind of ashamed of who I was, and I kind of carried this embarrassment about my own heritage inside me, and I buried it deep until I was ready to reckon with it. And after getting my education and working professionally and going to India, making a film there, going to Japan and making a film, I kind of looked at my body of work and I realized I'm making documentaries and telling stories of communities that I'm not even a part of. So that really got me thinking, and I realized I need to do something where I need to discover who I am again and do something meaningful and for my own community. And I realized I was running away from myself. So that's when I wrote the proposal to make My Life in China, this film. And so it's basically a retracing and going back to the village to see what we can learn. And it's one of the most life-changing things of my life. It is the life-changing thing in my life. And if I can, the whole point of the film is hopefully at this point, if you can see a part of yourself and your own family story within it, I feel like I would have done my job as an artist. So please enjoy the film. I hope you see yourself and your own family story within it. And I look forward to sharing and learning about everybody after the film. And please enjoy.
So thank you, everybody, for being with us for My Life in China. It's time now for a very special moment to talk with Director Kenneth Ang. We have one question that's come in to get us started. I'm interested to hear what Ken's takeaways were when he met relatives in China, and if he had any other aha moments as he heard their stories and perspectives.
And thank you all so much for just bringing me back on this journey. It just traveling and retracing the journey and visiting family members along the way and just seeing how successful they were. And, just as a reflection of my own experience in life in America, it was just eye-opening because, you kind of realize, wait, like, America, the land of opportunity, and all the great stuff and the ideals that that are part of the American dream. It was not there for my dad, and it was shown more apparent when we were visiting our family members, and they were all really successful, and they had stuck it through communism, and just getting little bits of information along the way in Hong Kong. And as we progressed deeper into the rural villages, and really seeing with my own eyes, the simplicity of life and what makes people happy, and just even the simple, that meal with the gypsy chicken, where we cooked chicken in the dirt. That was one of my favorite moments, where we could slow down, and you're in the countryside, and it just I forgot that I was American, and I was just able to just enjoy the simple meal with my distant relatives, and just seeing my dad so happy. It was one of those moments where you just forget about the complexities and all the things all the values and all the things that we're used to, like keeping up with rent and, paying for things and all that stuff. It just was a great reminder of just the good things in life.
The film does a beautiful job of depicting all that. So thank you for, it is your profession, but you had to make the choice to talk about something that was very personal to you too. And we appreciate your willingness to share that. I want to remind audience members, if you go into the chat, you can send questions to moderator Barbara Velasquez or respond to one of my messages there. And you just said something right now, Ken, that's in the notes that I was jotting down. How did you see your father's spirit change from what you knew of him living in the United States to when you were traveling?
Yeah, I mean, just knowing how depressed and, just how frustrated he had been, just, being an immigrant, not having, just struggling for most of his time in America. And, the thought of spending precious time with his son, I think I was being selfish, like, how often do we get to spend time with our parents as adults after coming out of college? And knowing that he was in this situation and, caring for my mom, his days were just sort of limiting. And, I just imagined how frustrated he could have been. But when I was just maybe being selfish, and I had the opportunity to create a project where I could spend precious time with him. And that's sort of was my intention, to really engage with my father while, he was still alive, and create new memories for ourselves. But it didn't really dawn on me that we were actually, like going on this amazing journey of transcendence, because, I had, the dynamic of being his son was just, always that. We were never friends. And this whole process of engaging with him and asking him to tell me his story really transcended our relationship to become friends, and have precious moments that, you can't really replace. And I just wanted to inspire others to engage with their own parents. But it's something that came out of just this journey that I didn't even intend for. Just, pointing the camera at myself and my father, and telling my story in my own authentic way, and being vulnerable. to hopefully reflect the audience in the experience of this whole journey, and to tell these little personal moments, these little personal things that you can't get in history books, that can't be taught in classes, and it's just, I'm so glad that I took the chance to make a film that was really unfundable from all the grantors, and this was a labor of love. So I think, and hopefully it shines through the emotion and the love and the reverence for our elders, because just to even fathom like what my dad had done for me, just to give me the chance to get an education so I could pursue my dreams to be a documentarian, a filmmaker. It's like nothing that any parent would recommend for their kid. It's like a tough road, but just to be able to do this and, even rediscover who I was, because I had been so embarrassed to be Chinese, and to go on the journey to see for myself the sacrifice. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Like what, just that 1 week walk and 4-hour swim. Who was he doing it for? I was always so self-centered growing up. Like, oh wait, there's no thought of the clothes on my back, the name brand sneakers that I got. But like, it's this natural thing of self-discovery when you get older. You start thinking about your parents and how you got there. But if we could activate the younger generation earlier, I think that's really where the value is. We could change our community and society and by promoting love, intergenerational respect, and I think that can affect so many different things.
Okay. In order to include everybody's thoughts, I'd probably be bouncing around a little bit here.
That's fine.
So everybody, please understand that. Teresa writes, I love how you shared a meal with your grandmother at the cemetery. Native Americans do that too, especially on Memorial Day. And are your parents still alive?
My dad sadly passed 3 years ago, and my mom is luckily still alive. Yeah, he died of stage 4 lung cancer. He smoked so much cigarettes, as you saw in the film. But it is what it is. We just wanted him to enjoy the rest of his life, and that was part of the intention of making the film, just to spend precious time. I forgot what the question was.
Yeah. No, you answered the question. You gave him that opportunity to reconnect in a way he probably would have never done through this. So
well, the meal with the yeah, it's totally like Memorial Day, where but also just to record these traditionals, these like Chinese traditions that you don't really see in the history books, but like done in a personal way that kind of communicates that how similar all these cultures, different cultures are. That we all have these traditions and ways of honoring our ancestors and elders, and like we're a diverse melting pot, but we also could celebrate the like diversity and whatnot.
Did your father have a reaction to the video? Was he able to see pieces of it?
Yeah, I mean, this film, I shot it. I filmed it. I got the Guggenheim Fellowship in 2007, 2006, and then we went and filmed it in 2007 and 2008. Spent like a month in China, and I came back. I was like a drunk sailor. I spent the whole grant. I got the fellowship, $50,000, and I had spent all the money. And when I came back, I had to, be a freelancer and pay for my life and put out fires. So, and I don't think I was emotionally or ready to finish the film. I had to grow up. I was 31 or something like when I was trying to finish it, but it took 8 years. I finished it in 2014, and he was in the premiere at the San Diego Asian American Film Festival. And he was in his one suit that he wore in the film. He had sunglasses on. We had a packed house. We had 400 people in the theater. And when the lights came on, it was one of the happiest moments of my life, because, I had been trying to explain to my dad what I was trying to do with my life. Like, how do you even say documentary filmmaker in Chinese? And it just, the frustration grows on yourself as an artist too, when family members ask you like, how's the film going and and whatnot. And so in the third, fourth year, it was, you just kind of try not to talk about it. It's just really frustrating, but it was a feat of accomplishment for myself personally to finish the film no matter what, and just to have him there because he just didn't know what I had done with my life, and just he finally understood. And then he was taking photos with people. People were asking him to sign autographs, and he had never been to San Diego too. So I flew him in. It was just like this most. Oh, pardon me, 1 second. There's someone standing here. Sorry about that. It was a maintenance for air condition here. Sorry.
Got it. We have those things happen in our business too. But
Sorry
that
about that.
sounds like it was a wonderful experience for him to feel, your accomplishments. He talked towards the end, he said something about when Kenny becomes successful. And I thought, what does that mean to him? How does he define success, right?
Well, it's just interesting because, when I was a kid, I remember being like 7 years old, I promised him I would, give him $1 million one day. If I ever became successful in whatever I had done, but sadly, I never got to that. So, but the best I could do was at least bring him on a trip back to the village and be there with him and record it, I guess. And then just using the film because, I haven't been married. I haven't been able to start a family, but my brother has, and, he has 2 kids, and for them to know what their grandfather was like, and hopefully one day, I think that's so valuable, and and thank God that he was still alive when they were young, but they have this different memory of them. And hopefully one day they can understand what their grandfather did for us,
Yeah.
and whatnot.
I'm thinking that if you would have handed $1 million over to your dad, he probably would have acted like his mother did and said, I don't need that, right? Save it for your future. So don't feel bad about it anymore, because that's really where it would have gone.
Well, I'll tell you an amazing story. Like a few years, like a year after the film had done, I had moved to Los Angeles, and my friend who was working for a startup needed a video done, and he hired me to do a video. And I had like $1,000 to my name after moving to LA. So I flew back to Boston, and my dad came to me and said, "Hey, son, do you have any grocery money or coffee money?" He was living off Social Security at the time, make like $300 a month, not much at all to live off of. So it was around the time with my brother and his wife had their first kid. I decided, I know I'm going to get paid eventually. I'm going to give my dad $300 and my mom $300. And he wanted to host a Peking duck dinner to celebrate the birth of his grandchild. And so it was like around Christmas, there was a big snowstorm out there, and he bought all the fixings, but he forgot cucumbers. And I made him walk through a snowstorm, and he found $20 in the snow, and he bought lottery tickets. So later that night, when I came home from, hanging out with my friends, he met me at the door and he said, we won. He showed me a lottery ticket of 5 numbers, and and I checked it. They all matched. It was the most surreal thing. And he won $100,000 that night. And he was able to take his siblings on one last hurrah back to the village. And, that's his final trip back to the village. And maybe that was my way of going back. But, I still have a dream of going back one day. So
That's marvelous. That's really
a little anecdote. Yeah. But yeah, there's so many things, even the person that took poison in the film too. There's all these little facets of the story that, yeah. And it's something I couldn't even we debated a lot. Do we include the story? Do we not? And if I didn't include it, you would never know that something like that happens in the village, where there's a discrepancy of who gets to, have services and who gets taken care of it. You have to have money. It's yeah, these little things.
Right. I think it was definitely a learning piece. And I as difficult as it is, I suspect that everybody who watched today and anybody who watches the recording that you're kindly letting us do will learn from that. I do want to say to everybody that Metropolitan Community College libraries are great supporters of all of the series that we do. And one of the things that they do, in addition to helping us determine about public performance rights, etc., is they, in every possible way, will purchase the rights to have the videos that we show in their collection. So if you have Metropolitan Community College credentials, you can see My Life in China again, or see it with somebody that you think should view it. If somebody doesn't have credentials with the college, they can go to the library and watch there. So we want to thank Metro Libraries for that. And I don't want to end this without thanking Mr. Aaron Parks, who was the writer and producer for this beautiful My Life in China documentary. He happens to also be an adjunct video instructor at Metro and contacted me, I believe, twice about this. So I'm glad that I was able to get it on our schedule the second time. I don't know if you happen to know him, but if anybody out there in the audience does, make sure that you let him know how you felt about the experience, and thank him for bringing it in. And Ken, do you have anything that you want to say about how you and Aaron worked together, for those of us who don't know how documentaries come to be?
Yes. I mean, a lot of credit goes to Aaron, because I was too deep in the story, and I really and I had known Aaron beforehand. We had worked together on a bunch of reality shows when we were living in New York together, and we just stayed friends. And he's just really intelligent and really good at what he does. So I wanted to work with someone that was not part of my, the Chinatown community. And Aaron, he's, obviously he's a Nebraskan. He's a Husker, right? He went to school there, and just, I just pride myself in the diversity of my friends. And he had such an amazing perspective, because he went to film school and he's a storyteller. He's really good at what he does. And he just kept me honest, and like just collaborating with, someone from like the heartland of America. It was just provided for it, like, enabled me to tell a more broad story that I could involve not just like the Chinatown local community, the Asian American community, but to make it accessible to as many people as possible. That, how do we tell our story in a way that can be accessible to so many different peoples and be inviting and inclusive without alienating them, in that sense. And I think, Aaron just really, pushed us over the top, and just, made it like a really universal story.
Thank you. So we're about ready to close down, but there is a question of, you grew up in the US, you speak of being somewhat ashamed of your cultural heritage, as probably all of us don't relate in appropriate ways at certain times in our life to where we came from. After your experience of being with your dad and meeting extended relatives, and kind of looking at your life growing up in the US, what kind of similarities in culture did you see between US Chinese Americans and the Chinese that you were meeting in Hong Kong and mainland China?
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants a better life. Everyone wants to take care of their family. These are all just basic things. It's just the fear of the unknown, the border, or just some kind of imaginary wall or something that keeps us all from, engaging with each other honestly. I mean, throughout I also call the whole process of making the film art therapy, because, I was able to overcome my embarrassment and my shame and turn it into my pride. I told you about going to India and other countries to, make films about communities besides my own. But this experience of, going into my own heritage and, a journey of my own family sort of calibrated myself as an artist, and sort of spoke to me and rearranged how I want to, the kind of stories I want to tell and record. And ever since, this experience, I have been, working with Chinatowns across the country, to tell the story of Chinese in America and try to educate people and, fight racism in that sense. So I kind of turned my shame into my pride. And in that sense, how can we inspire other people to go on the journey to just realize it's okay to be different? That's what makes America rich and beautiful. But if we can also celebrate our similarities at the same time, it's this beautiful, delicate balancing act. And we should include everybody. We are all part of this work in progress that is America. And yeah, I just want to contribute to that conversation. How do we engage and how do we talk about this uncomfortable thing of trying to get along here?
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Ken, if you have any final messages you'd like to share with the audience, we're at that point where we're about ready to shut things down. So
I'm just really thankful for the opportunity. These little screenings are so meaningful because these little things keep our lights on. I'm not a Hollywood filmmaker, hopefully one day, but like these are so important. We like filmmakers like me want to do this work. This is like, we're chipping away at this big movement of just educating people, normalizing who we are as Americans, and just trying to just break down those walls. That's it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Audience, I would like to ask you to complete the evaluation. It's coming through in the chat. It will be sent to you in an email after this, but it gives us an opportunity to know how to improve for the future. And then finally, we'd like you to consider joining us next week on Wednesday, May 17th. We will have a brief, it's going to be about a half an hour long presentation on taiko drum by Kokyo Taiko, which is out of Lincoln, Nebraska. They will be at the Elkhorn Valley campus in room 114 at 10:15 a.m. Central Time. Those of you who can't get out there, join us on Zoom. And that'll also be, I don't think I'll be able to get it to you in the chat at this point, but it'll be in an email coming out. So thanks, everybody. Have a good afternoon and happy graduation to everybody who's celebrating this month, but especially the Metropolitan Community College graduates that are walking across the stage tomorrow. Bye, everybody.